Hi, my name is Ella Mashiach, and today I have the great pleasure of interviewing Mr. Kamal Hathi, Director of Program Management at Microsoft, responsible for the SQL Server Business Intelligence Technologies. Hi, Mr. Hathi.
Hello, hi.
Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure to be here with you.
Mr. Hathi, you've made quite a few additions to PowerPivot version 2, hierarchies, KPIs, the diagram view, and much more. What led you to decide what to add to this version rather than the next? How can we as users affect your decision? Is it a matter of voting on Connect?
Yeah. So look, the PowerPivot is in a sense, very fast iteration of a version we did in 2008 R2. And at that time, we really had to make some compromises on what we put in, the sorts of things we wanted to get into the product. We couldn't. A great example is a diagram view. We really wanted it in, and we couldn't. And so some things were just automatic. We had to make sure that we finished the work that was left over. Some things were feedback from customers, and not just on Connect, but we talk to a lot of customers. We go to conferences, we travel. We talked directly with people who come visit us on campus in Redmond, and slowly but steadily we get feedback on things that work, things that don't work, things that are missing, things they expected to have. A good example is working with measures. The measure grid that came in was direct feedback, people saying, hey, we like the fact that you have measures, but we want a better way of building them. And so that was a great way of making something new that came in based on direct feedback from customers. KPIs, same thing. Most people said, hey, KPIs are super important to us. We knew we wanted to put them in. At the same time, we wanted to make sure they were natural in Excel. So all those things, so it's a matter of feedback directly. Connect is one way. But conferences, we go to lots of conferences, even user groups, MVPs, all these things are really important when it comes to getting feedback and making sure the product's right.
Okay. Microsoft has released in the current version of SQL Server PowerView, which only works with SharePoint 2010 Enterprise Edition. New features for SSRS also require SharePoint 2010. All those may exist in big organizations, but not in the small to medium-sized businesses. How have you been approaching them?
So the first things first, SharePoint gives a lot of facilities, a lot of collaborative infrastructure, the services we use in SharePoint, including some of the security authentication aspects, the catalogs, the way the gallery, the way we put together. So SharePoint is a very important piece from that perspective. It also is important in some senses not to duplicate a product that already exists, which is SharePoint, with adding more features to, let's say, Report Manager. So we had to have that set of functionalities.
You're saying it's not necessarily to empower SharePoint, it's more to leverage.
That's right. I mean, that a portal is a necessary part of any BI solution. And SharePoint is the portal. Microsoft has got one portal called SharePoint. And so we really wanted to make sure that we provide those portal-like features and work with them directly. Having said that, we realize that it's a point of friction in terms of implementation, cost, etc. And I think our approach on this is, at least going forward, to utilize the cloud more. And we'll be working on the cloud-based services to make sure that over time that becomes a way to take away some of the friction that we see. Now, it's not there yet. It's something that's in the future. I'm sure you'll ask me when, and I can anticipate the question and tell you that soon. But having said that, we are on a pretty fast.
That's actually my next question.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, so we currently have reporting services in the cloud.
That's
we
right.
can connect with integration services to the cloud, and we've had data mining in the cloud. What's your next project for the cloud, and when will we be able to see analysis services there?
Right. So the cloud, the important thing to understand about Microsoft in the cloud is that this is something we are working on quite intensively. It's a very important part of our strategy, but also something we're working very fast. So if you look at things like SQL Azure that is in the cloud, the updates you put in there are rapid. We don't wait years for release. Literally, it's in weeks and months that things come up and go. So you can expect things to happen pretty quickly. I cannot tell you exactly what it's going to be, when. It's one of those things which we try not to speak about too much very early. But you should see things coming up very soon, and when you do, it'll be pretty clear what they are.
Okay.
But like your questions imply already what you think should be there, and most people can draw conclusions on where we're headed with that. It's a straightforward thing.
You've recently released the SQL Server 2012 data mining add-in for Office 2010 with 64-bit support.
Yeah.
You have taken out the Analyze tab, which was suitable for beginners, but made no other changes. Does that mean you're leaving that part to be further enhanced by partners, or do you have a roadmap for further development?
Yeah. So let me talk about data mining and predictive analytics in general, and we can come back to this Excel add-in itself. I don't know if you noticed or not, but we had to make some announcements recently about Hadoop and big data and all that. So big data is a very important phenomenon. We also realize that this notion of business intelligence with big data analytics, it's an interesting evolution that's taking place in terms of working with data and making sense out of it. And this whole continuum going from standard historical analysis to more predictive analytics is one that we play along all the way from the standard BI historical techniques to the predictive advanced techniques. And we had data mining in the product previously, and we've been enhanced a little bit along the way, added the add-ins, all that stuff. But with the advent of this big data movement and things like Hadoop that we're investing in, the importance of the work around predictive analytics and data mining actually is just going up for us. And so you can expect us to do more work there in the future as we go along. And obviously we are the company that believes in democratization, bringing the ease of use to people without needing sophisticated understanding sometimes of how everything works. And so we will continue to do that. We'll continue to give the ability for you to work against any kind of data, small, large, structured, unstructured, social, all kinds of things. And we'll continue to build on our legacy and history of having data mining in the product, but we'll just make it more, I think, sort of broader in its reach, as well as the depth that we provide in the product. So you can expect more things to come down over the next releases that we will have.
Okay. You have changed the licensing terms from SQL Server 2002 to SQL Server 2012, moving from processor-based to core-based licensing on standard and enterprise editions. The cost of running SQL Server 2012 could be higher than that of 2008 R2 if you're running multi-core chips. You're also offering a server plus CAL pricing model on the standard and business intelligence editions. The CAL license has increased for 2012 at about 25%. What have you heard from your customers about this? Aren't you afraid this may cut back the amount of people moving to SQL Server 2012?
Okay. So a few things about licensing and pricing in the new release of SQL Server. The most important thing to understand is that in terms of the value provided in what people pay for the value, they're actually getting more than they used to. The second thing is that if you look at price combinations, server plus CAL, so server price hasn't gone up, the CAL price has gone up, and sometimes it's lost in the discussion that it's a server CAL pricing. Okay. Similarly, core pricing is something that we are just following industry trends. Oracle has been doing this for a long time. Other competitors have been doing this for a long time. We're just following the trends of the technology and making sure that when customers make buying decisions, it's an apples to apples comparison and not an apple to oranges comparison. Okay. Also, for most customers today with standard chips, quad core or so, the pricing actually doesn't go up. If you do the translation of numbers of cores multiplied by per core price, you get a fairly equitable price for what you have today. So I think there is a important point here, which is that one, we are trying to keep up with the competitive environment and how people do pricing, so make sure customers get the right level of comparison, and the fact that it's a combination of various things. There's CAL pricing, there's server price, there's a core, and that combo in some cases leads to higher prices today, but in many cases, if you're doing, for example, virtualization, it actually leads to a reduction in pricing because you have to need for unlimited virtualization data center, which was more expensive. Now we can do that with enterprise edition. So it's a balance of what you get, and that balance, depending upon your situation, can be in some senses even lower price than you might have thought than you've been paying before. So it's an interesting point to make about pricing, that it's not a uniformly increase in price. For most part, it is actually stable or lower in some cases.
Okay. Mr. Hathi, thank you very much for your time.
No, okay.
My name is Ella Mashiach, and I hope to see you again soon in my blog.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic, here we go.